Welcome back to Red Alert. And obviously, in the last segment, you heard that there was a little bit of chatter about potentially a trade involving the Red Wings with Matthew Barzal or Brock Nelson. This is something to unpack. Obviously, you weren't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it, but we've seen some incredible people bring it up. So we are bringing it up on the Red Alert Detroit Red Wings podcast. Would you do it?
I would. I think he fits. He could be a long-term second-line center for us.
Mm-hmm.
He fits that mold. He's 25, 26 years old. He's a young guy. I think if we do sign him, you sign him to a long-term deal, looking at like a 5-year contract if you're going to get him, because that's how long it's going to take us to get into cup contention, in my mind, 3 to 5 years. And that's when you're going to need that kind of a guy. He's a pressure player. He's got playoff experience. And that's where he's really you're going to see his value is in that postseason. And I think that they're going to have to sign him to a long-term deal to make it really valuable and worthwhile.
Former first-round pick, obviously with the New York Islanders, 16th overall. He's been a great player for the New York Islanders.
Yeah.
I would do it too. It depends what you would give up. I don't know what you would be giving up to get Matthew Barzal to Detroit, but obviously New York, if they sign Kadri, they're going to have to shed some payroll. Obviously, in the last thing we talked about, half the teams in the league are like close to the cap or over the cap.
Right.
So the Red Wings are in a unique position because the rest of the teams above them, they're in 7th in the most salary cap in the NHL. So they can't take on that payroll. It would be interesting. What would you give up, and how would that trade work? Would you give up a prospect? Would you give up a player on the roster? That's something that obviously the leverage is Stevie Y's on right now.
Absolutely. It would depend on the prospect. Yes, I'd give up a prospect. It would depend on which prospect it is. Would I give up a player? So if I'm talking about giving up a prospect, would I give up a Simon Edvinsson for him? No. Would I give up, a Jonathan Bergeron?
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. Would I give up? We're looking at players. Would I give up a Tyler Bertuzzi?
Yep.
Maybe. Probably. Would I give up somebody like a Zadina? Absolutely. Would I give up someone like Kopp? No. So, it really depends on the player, but I think there is enough leverage and there is enough options inside the Red Wings organization at this time because of what Stevie's done in the acquisitions he's made. I think he has the tools he needs and he has the assets that he can trade to get a guy like Matthew Barzal.
Obviously, we're live at LCA. If you're on the podcast, you can go to the YouTube channel and watch us from LCA, but obviously, the Red Wings have some things working for them. They have some players that they can go after. They have some assets that they can run towards getting players like that. Like we said in the last segment with the Kadri stuff, we said, would you sign him? Both of us were reluctant to sign him because of reasons. But this is why we told you this is why Stevie Y kept the cap space the way he did.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet that Stevie's got his eye on somebody. Now, is it Matthew Barzal? I don't know, but he knows what's going on out there in the league. He knows the position these teams are in, and he knows the assets they've got and the players they got on their roster right now. I'm willing to bet, and I said this probably 3 or 4 shows ago, Steve is going to make a big splash yet. We thought maybe Perron was the big splash. Maybe Kopp was the big splash. They might have been, but I think there's still another big marquee player or splash Steve is going to make. Is it this one? I don't know, but I think he certainly left that cap space open for a reason, and I think the reason is yet to be revealed here in the coming weeks.
I know they're up in the front office. They're probably discussing it right now. But
they're probably listening to Red Alert saying, what are those guys saying down there? Yeah, we're going to do that. Doubtful.
No.
No, of course not.
They need to hire me first.
Right, but they're already up there somewhere.
But when we talk about the Red Wings, we talk about Stevie Y saving the salary cap for a reason, such as situations that come up like this. Obviously, when there's teams that are desperate to get rid of on their cap, players on their cap, they have to give something to give something. So,
right.
We've seen in the past, obviously, that Tkachuk trade that people were talking about, should the Red Wings make a trade for Matthew Tkachuk? Obviously, if you looked at that, the Panthers got routed in the trade. They give up a top 4 defenseman, Uyghur. They gave up a top 3 forward in Huberdeau, and they give up a prospect. And you look at their the way that the Florida Panthers have done things, they don't have a first round pick for the next 4 years, so they really need to.
Yeah, you can tell that they were definitely playing for today when they made that
Well,
trade.
they're actually playing for the future too because their cap space is a little bit dim.
The cap era has changed everything.
Yeah.
And that's something that even Darren had, remarked on, and other players and other people in the NHL that we've talked to. The cap era is a different era altogether.
Like we said in the last segment,
Yeah.
with there's people who are making $10 million a year. There's only one finals appearance in there, and they didn't even win. So that's what the cap has done. It's opened up a door where you pretty much have to be smart to get into the upper tier of the NHL, and they have the guy Steve.
Yeah, fortunately, we have that here.
Yeah.
I believe that the Red Wings really do have all the resources, and actually, I think, we talk about the game changer and who is he looking for and what is he looking for, and I'll tell you what, one game changer. We talk a lot about players, but I'm willing to bet you one huge game changer is probably going to be your most valuable player, your MVP, might end up being Derek Lalonde.
Yeah.
He could be, in fact, the game changer for everything, and I'm willing to bet that as much as any of the players or any of the acquisitions that have been made will make a difference for the Detroit Red Wings, I believe your MVP is, at the end of the day, probably going to be Derek Lalonde.
I think that Stevie Y's given the roster to succeed, to make a difference, and we're really excited about what could happen. Obviously, the Barzal news is news to us because we just got it today, but it's going to be interesting to see what Stevie Y does because we're going in August. Teams have to shed some payroll. And this is in Stevie Y's wheelhouse to take advantage of general managers who didn't really plan for these things to happen. COVID happened and it froze the salary cap, so that really screwed some teams because they thought the salary cap was going to go up.
Right.
I know Stevie Y in Tampa Bay, I think he learned a little bit about contracts because what happened was he gave players contracts that were long-term contracts, and he kind of left before they really took hold of Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And you can see that with the Ryan McDonough, and I think he learned off that. He's like, it's a good thing that he came here second because
he had his learning curve in Tampa Bay.
Yeah. When we talk about Ken Holland, one of the things we talked about with him was when the Red Wings were, in contention, he signed those long-term contracts, and then when they got to the end of the road, they tried to sign long-term contracts to get him back into competing, and that's not how you compete in NHL. Stevie Y is doing it a different way, trying to build through the draft, trying to get things up, but he's also building through free agency, getting players that can mesh really well with his young players. We talked about that in the old versus young segment. It's going to be interesting to see what Stevie Y does going forward with all his teams needing to shed payroll. Where does he take advantage of, and who does he take advantage of?
He's going to pick somebody's pocket. There's no doubt about it. That's what he does, and he does it almost better than anyone. The Detroit Red Wings are going to be better for it. Some people are going to lose in this cap era, and other people are going to win. You just got to know how to use that.
The interesting thing is, because I heard this from someone who is part of the Red Wings organization, that when Stevie Y called Rutherford in St. Louis, he was asking about Billy Huso, who wasn't really interested. Then he heard that Toronto was involved, and he said, "Third round pick, I'll send it to you. Let's get it done."
Yeah, it's a done deal. Steve knows exactly when it's time to leverage what he's got. It's one of the things that makes him such a great executive and such a great GM. And I'm really appreciative and almost humbled to be sitting here doing this show today in front of, the Stevie Y.
Right next to Gordie Howe.
Mural. We got Gordie Howe on the other side. We got Stevie behind us. And we're just, kind of a stone's throw from where the man himself does the work that he does. So, but you can't see that unless you go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Between the Whistles Detroit, you want to subscribe so you can see this awesome venue. You can see us, which isn't all that bad either. And we would love for you to make comment. Visit our Facebook pages. Visit Detroit Red Wings News, powered by IQ. Visit Between the Whistles Detroit. Those are two great hockey resources for you. Put your comment on this segment and tell us, would you make a move for Barzal? We would want to know.
If you're in the comments, we will respond to your comments. Would you make the move for Barzal? Yes or no? And give us a short reason why.
Perfect. We'd love to read it on our next segment, and we will respond to you online.
We will see you in the next show of Red Alert. We will obviously be from our home probably, but it was a great time at Los Feliz Arena. So thank you to the Detroit Red Wings for their hospitality.
Thank you so much to Detroit Red Wings organization. Thank you for everyone here at LCA who made this possible, and all of our friends. We appreciate you so much. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Check out the podcast on any one of your podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, you name it. You can find us. We got people. They're now your people. Follow Red Alert in Between the Whistles Detroit.
And Detroit Red Wings news, and we'll keep you entertained throughout the hockey season. When news breaks, you will learn it first on those channels. It's been a good show.
It's been awesome.
It's been a good show. I know you were tired, but we finally got through it.
That's okay. I'm still got a smile on my face.
We'll see you on the next episode of Red Alert, the Detroit Red Wings podcast.
See you then.